It's nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's not what you wanted. Wasn't what you were expecting, Adam.
I don't know. I never had too many letters sent to me, so
Same.
when I get a letter, I'm excited. It's not a bill or a bill collector.
Yeah.
It's a. Mm-hmm.
It's a letter.
I think it's cool that he sends out Thanksgiving letters.
Can you imagine if you got a letter from Jesus?
No, I don't. No, I don't want that.
No.
No.
Probably shed a lot of light on your life.
Do you want a letter or a report up until now?
I mean,
Do you want to see how you did from day one to now? You want a whole report?
I've been making this timeline and I've been putting it off. There's a lot of hard stuff you go through in life.
Wait.
You ever sat down and made a timeline of your life?
Well, that's what I was just going to get at. You are just now making a timeline
Yeah.
for yourself from day, like birth till now?
First, like, memory.
So from about 3 to now?
Yeah.
And you're writing it down like in a journal?
In a Excel document.
Well, that's good. You know, the last job application I put in, I was like, are you good at Excel?
What'd you say?
No, because I don't use Excel. I use Google Docs. But I have Excel.
Yeah, that's a
No.
Google Docs has Excel in it.
Excel is Microsoft.
Google Docs uses Excel.
It's kind of the same formats.
Mm-hmm.
But you have Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google this and that. And then you have Excel Sheets, Excel. But they kind of do the same
Sheets,
thing.
that's Excel, bro.
It's Google.
It's Excel, though.
You know what? I'm going to let you do what you need to
See
do.
that?
That's for business formats and stuff. But if you've got a timeline on there, I mean, I'm not knocking you.
I
So
do, dude. And
I'm not.
it goes so far. I've gotten from. Hold on.
Does that help you?
I've gone from age 5 to age 28 to present.
Does that help you?
I mean, it's kind of hard to do. Like trying to remember stuff.
What are you trying to remember?
Everything.
Why?
Important moments in your life.
Why?
Because those are what we base the stories that we believe.
Is that what we're supposed to do as Christians?
I think in order to really understand why you are the way you are or who you are, is to do that internal reflection and figure that out. Figure out what events happened to you up to this point that made you believe who
Is
you
it
are.
possible to start over again and let go of all that?
Yeah, you have to.
You have to, but if you keep reminding yourself,
Well, it's the thing is a lot of events in our lives are, repressed. The negative, right? Because everybody has that negative event or those negative moments, but your brain will repress some of that. So trying to unlock it is extremely difficult, emotional,
right?
because your brain has been designed that way to protect you, right? But then also, as humans, I think that we develop this sense of pride in who you are or who you've become, right?
Yeah.
And when you go back and you try and dig all that stuff up, your brain's going to fight you because that attacks your pride.
Mm-hmm.
Like those stories that you've made, whether true or false, they're protected by your pride
Mm-hmm.
because they're created by your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then your pride's like, oh, yep, that's what happened. That's who I am. That's why this happened. That's, so then your brain you try to dig up that bad stuff. Like, oh, maybe that wasn't really the truth. Maybe that wasn't the real story. Because when you reflect on the thoughts that you had as a kid, kids aren't good at telling stories.
No.
Right? So most of those stories have lies in them or assumptions, right?
Mm.
Because, as a kid, you assume. And as an adult. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not even halfway through it, dude.
No, but
I have to keep adding lines and time ages and trying to remember all that and how it worked. I'm just like, whoa. It's hard.
Matthew 6:34.
What's that?
It's the red letters when Jesus was speaking. He said, this is for the future, but he said, don't worry about tomorrow.
Yeah.
For tomorrow by itself.
Yeah.
And he also said somewhere about being born again.
Mm-hmm.
And don't worry about all that junk in the past.
Yeah.
Stop. And worry about what you're doing day to day. And keep going forward because none of that stuff matters anymore.
Yeah, it's already been done, but
and you can't change it. And if it doesn't do your mind good to dwell on those things, to think about it, then you need to let it go. It's hard. I know for me it's especially hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get reminders from whether it be family or
but I think it's
situations. It always come up, and we were talking about dreams earlier. Like the dreams you were talking about have some historical evidence. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The dreams I was talking about, they shouldn't really have historical evidence for me. It doesn't make any sense.
I've listened to theologians and Christian scholars and stuff like that talk about dreams, and they're just like, it's just that. It's a dream. Don't pay any attention to them. There's people that want to analyze your dreams and the colors in your dreams, and this is that.
Yeah, like your teeth falling out.
They're like, don't listen to those people. It's and I don't. I've tried my hardest now to live for the now, and our pastor, I talked to him last night, and he sent me a Bible verse this morning at 6:00 this morning, and he said, hey, I just want to let you know that I've been praying for you, and sent me a Bible verse. And it's funny because he sent me like the whole Bible gateway. Like I had to get into the whole thing to find it. I'm like, you could have just maybe typed it out.
Screenshot.
I think it's let me make sure, but I think it's 1 Thessalonians 2:25.
1 Thessalonians 2:25.
I'm pretty sure.
We're about to have a Bible breakdown.
5:24.
5:24.
And I was like, okay, when your pastor texts you, you're just like, hey, thanks, But something was like, just look at the verse, look it up in your Bible study, look it up and look at it. And so I really did, and I looked up different versions. He sent me the NIV version.
NSAB 1995?
Nope, he sent the NIV, the one that all the NSAB 1995 people are like, that's crap. But I looked up both versions, and they basically say the same thing. No, they don't basically say the same
They
thing.
do.
They say the same thing.
Yeah.
Little words are changed here and there, but it's the same thing. The one who calls you is faithful, and he will do it. And so I looked up the NLT, and it said, oh, shoot. Hold on. I liked so he sent me that one, but I liked the NLT version of it. Because it painted a clear picture. So you got that. 524. God will make this happen. For he who calls you is faithful. God will make this happen.
Yeah.
And so the NIV version said what it said, and then I looked at the NASB 1995 and 2020 and everything, and it was all basically the same
New
thing.
King James.
The NLT, no, I forgot to look that one up.
That would have been a good one.
But God will make this happen.
Yeah.
And so the conversation I had with him was like, man, I want to do this, I want to do that, but I don't have this and I don't have that. I don't have college degrees. I've wasted my whole life away of this and that and partying and boozing and, basically trashed everything. And I'm like, I don't know what I can do now. And last night he's, well, we'll pray about it, this and that. And you get to a point in your life when you're struggling, you're like, well, pray in one hand and in the other, see which one fills up faster. My grandpa's old saying, hope in one hand and in the other, see which one fills up faster. You better go for that. And I've lived by that mentality my whole life. And so I put myself out there in a couple of different arenas in employment that are way left field of what I've done.
Right.
I've told my wife, and I've told you, and I've told you and my wife, I've worked construction since I was 12 years old.
Yeah.
It's all I've ever done. I'm going to be 40 next year. And I'm done. I'm done with it. In the beginning, Bible studies were, we went, oh, you're in a field to talk to people that are lost and people that are struggling. And I've done that. But I feel the Lord is pulling me away.
Yeah.
Because it's so much of a, I think the Lord knows my heart. And when I get into those fields, it's like, he's like, oh, okay, reel it back in. Like, there's so many different influences. But, we talked last night and he's like, well, then this morning he sends that text. And then all morning I'm like, okay, so I did a study. I did a short video I haven't edited yet on what that means to me, what that could mean to other people. Mm-hmm. And like I said, God will make this happen. But I had to be really careful. God will make this happen. There's a lot of people out there that are really putting all their hopes and dreams and everything on God will make this happen.
Right.
And they're like, but it's not happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on? I was like, what? I thought somebody was ringing the doorbell.
Ding.
But I was like, okay, so is he going to make this happen? There's people out there that are waiting years, and nobody. What I wanted to tell people is there's no. It could be today. It could be in 10 seconds. It could be in 10 years.
Yeah.
It could be on your deathbed.
Yeah, you may not ever see it
in this life,
mm-hmm.
but then you get to the gates of glory, you get to heaven, and there it is. God made it happen. But I sat there, and he's like, I'm praying for you, I'm praying for you, I'm praying for you. And then, I get a phone call in the middle of the day from my employer. And he said, I know things are tight right now. put in your time card 40 hours.
Yeah.
I'm going to pay you for 40 hours this week, even if you didn't do anything. And I'm like, big whoop, like, great. But then I'm like, God's going to make this happen. And I know that my heart has been in the ministry. It's been in this and that. And every time I think, how am I going to do this? How am I going to buy Christmas presents this year?
Yeah.
Keep a smile on my face. The hours that are available for work, I give to my coworker and the other coworker. And I'm like, you guys take mine. I'm not going to show up. You guys can have it. And then I think, well, you're a big stupid idiot. Like, how are you going to even... You can't buy your wife nothing. You can't buy nobody anything for Christmas. Whatever. And then I get a text that has 1 Thessalonians. God will make this happen. And I'm like, ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, great. And then I go out there and I'm on my trunk of my car with my Bible open and I got my selfie stick set up with the camera and I'm writing down all these commentaries and I got to do this video and this video. Right after I did one after 1 Timothy 4:12, my phone rings during the middle of it. And I'm like, wow.
It was me.
No, because you don't ever call. And so...
I mean, I called you tonight, but...
You only call when you're like, do we need drinks? But
Where did that doesn't sound right. Pre-Suns for the youth group.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
And the answer's always yes.
He's like, hey,
drink so much juice.
Put your 40 hours in. And so I'll get a paycheck Friday for 40 hours that I didn't work.
Yeah.
It was one of my vacations. But it's like, hey, here it is, and then go ahead and do this. Oh, okay. But be patient, and God will make it happen.
It's funny that you talk
Get you
about
through
that
another week.
because I do, like, when I put my son to bed, we listen to the Abide, right? And there's the kids' stories, and he picked one, and we've listened to all of them, but he picked this one, and I don't remember listening to it. And I'm laying there with him and actually like listening, actively listening, and it's Psalms 37:4.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know that one?
No.
Take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole story, it was a great story, and you know, I was like, wow, that's really cool. You know, like My Neighbor is a Superhero, I think was the name of it. And it's like, yeah, this guy always said that verse to me, and I was a kid, I never understood it. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And then it turned out to like be that pinnacle point in his life that he thought he was done, and you know, he couldn't do what he was known for, and then he found a new avenue that was still similar, and then it just blew up. And you know, it goes back to that verse: take delight in the Lord, and He will give you the desires of your heart.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I feel that for you too. You know, like you have those desires in your heart too, man. Like, and you've been. It's been what? It's been more than just 2 years for Street Smart at this point, right?
38 long years.
38 long years. Took a man 30 years to dig out of that prison. No, dude, but it's for real. Like,
yeah,
you could spend your whole life.
My phone. It was so funny. Because we were talking about, you know, I put Street Smart established 2020. And really that's when I was like, okay, boots to the ground. This is going to go off. And I'll have to look at the date. But I remember sitting in my car in my driveway at my old house.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on Facebook Live. I did a live video. I set my phone up. I wedged it in the steering wheel of my car.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I was talking about was, you know, don't point out the speck in your brother's eye unless you pull the plank. And this is before I knew the theological standpoint on that. Now I know that he was talking about people in the church not people on the street,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But I remember doing that and then watching on the screen everybody that was tuning in, and it was on my personal page. It wasn't a Street Smart page. And I did a 30-minute, I think.
Dang, the first
Just
podcast.
sitting there,
That's the
yeah.
original podcast.
Yeah. And it pops up, and I still have the video somewhere.
You should release it.
And I was like, and I was just talking, and then people are submitting their responses at real time.
Their emojis.
There was some, and then I remember saying something like, "Oh, there was this one preacher that said this, and I can't remember his name." And the guy was like, "Oh, yeah, that was Alistair Begg," and I'm like, "Yeah, that guy." And then just going and just talking, and then people were responding, "Amen, brother, preach it, yeah." So that would be, I would say, the day I said I'm going to do it. But then at that time, I was like, all these are going to go live. Like, I'm just doing them live.
Yeah.
Live. Because
You've
that's
never
where you
done
get
that.
we haven't on this. We can.
We should.
And because and at the time, and I don't know if Facebook, it still does this, because I haven't got a lot of alerts. And maybe that's just because friends or people aren't going live. But at the time, when one of your friends went live, it sent it out to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
This person's live. So everybody would click on your deal. What are they doing live? And so they have live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and all that. But you go live, and then all your friends were like, hey, what's going on? And then you can see what they're saying in real time as you're talking. And then Facebook saves that video and they keep it going. We haven't done that yet. We should. I think at least a couple times, just to say, hey, reach out to the people who are following Street Smart. And we have, I think the last time I looked, we have 1,300 followers.
On Facebook, yeah.
Yeah. So you go live. If it alerts everybody, they have an opportunity to say what they want to say, which is scary.
That's scary, bro.
It's scary because we could be here. But this is another point that, we've talked about your brother coming on the team. Antone Sellers is so excited to want to join this team. He's
Really?
going to be a pilot. He's going to be
That's
a
right.
commercial
Yeah,
pilot,
dude.
just like Ryan.
Ryan, yeah.
And he studied from the best, and he's about to be a commercial airline pilot. Not a little Cessna plane, but big plane.
Passenger plane.
After a few years, brother, I'll take a flight with you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch how you do from a distance. But he's really excited. His dad, you remember Sunday or when he was like, "Hey man, I really want to."
Yeah.
His dad he's the latest member of Street Smart Christian. He went on all of our platforms and
Nice.
Facebook,
He's
all
a
of
good
it.
man.
Ricky.
Ricky.
Shout out Ricky.
Good man.
But Antone he's fired up. And it's like, yeah, I want somebody like that in my corner.
Mm-hmm.
He's a young man that was in my FCA. He was, he's on fire for the Lord. And he wants to help us out and he wants to do things. But then, like your brother,
Mm-hmm.
we've talked about having Brandon, and I'm going to start bringing him up at every podcast.
Yeah.
Show up. If you're going to talk
Listen,
about
little
it, be
bro.
about it. I just changed my background to my thing. I got this cool image. Be about it. And a neon light on a brick wall that says "Be about it." Street Smart Christian in small letters. Like, be about it. Like, I'm challenging you guys.
Yeah.
And a lot of you guys, I like to do this and I like to do that and
Mhm.
play video games and hang out with my buddies and this and that. Well, I'm not challenging you to be a Bible thumper. I'm challenging you to be about it. Like, if you think you're cool and you're tough and you're doing all this, and Step into my world for 10 seconds. Let's see how tough you are. Jump in the ring for 10 seconds. Outside of everything that you're doing now, jump in my ring for 10 seconds and then let me know how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Because I promise you're going to get beat to your knees and you're going to get back up and you're going to feel like $1 million, though.
That's right where Christ wants us, bro.
Exactly. Because you're already beat down.
Mm-hmm.
Something's already holding you down.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine the feeling of getting beat to your knees and you're like, and then that spring just unloads and and then you're like, it feels great. But then now here comes life as a freight train. But now you're equipped with the right boxing gloves and the right training to hit it on the head. So I'm encouraging people like your brother and Antone, come be a part of this. Come help us out. Who knows? Antone could be a third part of this podcast. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Antone could be somebody who is great at producing. Mm-hmm. He might be somebody who's great at social media or doing what he does to get. He was the FFA Colorado chapter president of the whole state.
Dang.
For the whole last year. He's done public speaking. He's done everything. I have no doubt in my mind that he would be a very valuable asset to what we do. Your brother is an incredible technologically savvy guy.
Yeah.
That does soundboards. He knows a lot about audio, video. Musically inclined. All this stuff that meshes together that I just wish I had this much of what he probably already knows. And so I challenge those guys. Come on. Come help us. Come do it. You want to be a part of this? If it goes somewhere, then you will always be a part of it. I watched
even if it doesn't go anywhere, you're still
I watched a podcast with Theo Vaughn, and he just had Dana White on.
Oh yeah.
And Dana White, he's a pretty cocky guy. He's pretty, he's very rich. Successful. He owns everything now. But he made a comment that really stuck with me. He said during the pandemic, when people were laying people off, and he said he told his whole team of people,
the heck was that?
The ship goes down, all of us go down. Yeah. Not the janitor goes down and this goes down. No, if the janitor goes down, I go down. We all go down. So we're in this together. We came up together. We go down together.
Yeah.
And that's the mentality that I have. It was just an email or something that popped up. But
that one's going to die, I think.
What? Got half a battery.
That's a quarter.
Don't interrupt the podcast because
quarter.
I have to edit a lot more now. So now I have to listen for 35 minutes.
I don't think edit
for you to say it's gonna die,
I don't
and
think
it's not
edit
even
has
down.
A TH in it, bro.
Edit. I'm not doing podcasts with you. So Brandon, if you want to come be a co-host, Antone,
you got to get a mustache first. Oh wait.
Can your brother grab
no,
a mustache?
We can't. No. Sorry, dude. I put you on blast.
Dang.
Yeah. Meaning, yeah.
Dang, that's horrible. Are you the only one then? Can your sister grow a mustache?
Tina, can you go?
We're gonna throw everybody under the bus.
No, my dad
can she? You and her are the only one with
my dad's
black
got facial hair, bro.
Yeah, but you and your sister are the only ones with black hair.
It's not black.
Okay.
It's dark.
We're not going to go do this right now.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I mean,
it is.
The beeping in my ear.
My hair is blonde. My hair is blonde.
You have red hair.
Exactly, and you have black hair. So
you have no hair.
You have brown mixed with you. You got your mom mixed in there a little bit.
Yeah, she's got blonde.
I know, it's mixed in a little bit with you. And so your brother definitely got your mom's side.
He's got the light brown hair.
Yeah, they got the mom and grandma. You and your sister got dad for sure. I mean, you look like that, and your sister looks like your dad. I'm just kidding. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Tina.
She don't listen to this anyways.
I don't know. She doesn't. Neither does Brandon.
No, I'm gonna probably put it all over her Snapchat. I'm gonna take little clips, put it on her Snapchat, and just keep sending it to her. And I'm gonna just be like, listen. Probably get blocked real quick, but
Real quick. Lost the train of thought with that battery beep.
no, I wrapped it up with that. People talking about it, being about it. You know who else talked about it and was about it was Daniel. I'm just going to go off on a little thing before you go on your whole theological rant about, well, Daniel was, Nebuchadnezzar and Belteshazzar or whatever.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah, those were their given names. That wasn't their real names.
Yeah, that's what Belteshazzar, what?
Nebuchadnezzar
gave him, yeah.
Belteshazzar was the name Daniel got, but that was also the name of the third king that he...
Named after Daniel.
No, I don't think he was named after Daniel. Daniel was named after, whatever gods they were worshiping, so...
No, his real name was Belteshazzar. His given name was Daniel. Thought.
It's all right. I'm going to edit this out. His name was Daniel. Nebuchadnezzar gave him the name of Belteshazzar.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. His name was Daniel. And I believe...
Please.
Daniel's name is from God, or it's something about God. From God or whatever. But yeah, and then they changed it to Belteshazzar, and that was kind of the same meaning, but for their God, for Nebuchadnezzar's God.
Yeah.
And then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that wasn't their given name. That was given to them by
Did we know their
Nebuchadnezzar.
real?
Yeah, I have it in we were talking about last night. I got the breakdown in my study Bible that showed their real names, what that meant, then their given name, and what that meant.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah, talk about it, be about it. He was ripped from his home. He was given a new name. He was a slave. He was in the king's court, and they had a menu of food, and he wasn't about that life, so he decided to talk to the king's chef, and was
the guard too.
Well, it was the chef, and said, can we have this instead? And the chef said, well, I can get my head cut off for going against the king, but he did it anyways. And they do what's now known as the Daniel fast, and they ate vegetables, and that was it. Which the food of choice, like they were eating pork, and in the Old Testament times, pork was dirty, and Jews were, told not to eat pork. So they didn't eat pork, and he didn't do it, and then he just stood by his guns.
And God provided,
kept him and then every time it got shady, he was gifted prophecy and could tell them what their dreams were about and stuff like that. And then he lived to be an old man, and then
and all the kings loved him too.
Yeah, they did. And then the one king that really was his best friend, his son, Nebuchadnezzar.
Son.
Well, I don't know if his son or his nephew, because they both. But the one that threw him in the lion's den
didn't want to.
He didn't want to.
Like,
it'd be like me, like they're like, Kevin, we're gonna throw him in. I'm like, oh, hey, bro, sorry.
Aren't you the king?
Like, make it out.
No?
And they threw him in there, and then the king was just like,
he's like, my friend is gone.
And then they came back, and he lived. He's like, oh, good job, bro. Good job. Good job. But yeah, he was faithful. He talked about it. He was about it. That was somebody that, I'm going to dig a little deeper in as we go throughout these Bible studies and these podcasts.
Didn't he get thrown in the lion's den because
And he was old.
They made praying illegal, praying to other gods other than their gods.
He said something, and then
on
the king was like, I'm not
second
worried
floor.
about it.
He's like praying out the window.
But people told him like, hey, that he's doing this and he shouldn't be doing this. You got to make an example. And then, so they did, and then he came out unscathed, and then the king was like, oh, thank you, God. Because the middle king, I think that was Nebuchadnezzar's son or whatever, was all living that high life and went into their deal where Nebuchadnezzar stole all the Israelites' things from God, the gold and all this and that. And he locked them away, but his son was like, no, I'm going to take these and we're going to drink wine out of them. Like, these are nice. And then there was a hand that wrote on the wall. And the king's like, what was that? So Daniel came and...
In his dream?
You're going to die. No, they were at a banquet. And a hand...
I don't remember that's part of the story.
Yeah, a hand wrote on the wall. Basically saying, you guys are going to die tonight. And they're like, no. And then Daniel was like, ooh. And they're like, no, that's no way. Well, they all died. The king, everybody, they died.
From what?
God. Because they weren't supposed to be doing what they were doing, and they did it anyways. So don't quote me on this. Like, I'll go through Daniel a little more in depth, but the long and short of it is, they weren't supposed to be doing what they were doing, and they were just like, party like it's 1999, and they did it anyways. And then a hand showed up and was writing on the wall, and the writing is on the wall. Yeah.
Chapter 5.
Yeah, and so it basically, the writing was like, because you did this, you're going to die. And they're like, no, we're not.
Still King Belteshazzar.
That was...
No, that was the... Yeah.
That is Nebuchadnezzar's son.
Okay.
And so he's like, ha, 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 ha. Like, when I was listening to the story, I could see him, like, drinking wine and eating, like, yeah, look at that. I don't know what that's all about. That's crazy. Get Daniel. Why is all this crazy stuff happening? And then dead.
Dude, I don't remember this story. I haven't read this one.
Yeah, they all died. And then I think Caiaphas or whatever was after this.
Yeah, he saw the hand and then his knees became weak.
He died. Yeah, he
He
died.
was like,
yeah, he died. God put the writing on the wall. That's where the writing is on the wall.
His face grew more pale.
And he died.
His nobles were baffled.
They all died. Yeah.
Jeez, dude, this one's a good one.
Yeah, it is. I listened to Alan Parr do a short summary of the book of Daniel, and he was talking about this. Like, after Nebuchadnezzar, then this guy was like living the high life. Damn, we're gonna party. And then, because when Nebuchadnezzar took over Israel, he took all their treasures and everything that was gifted to them by God, and he locked them away, and never to be used again. But then he died and then the son took them and was like, well, I want to use these treasures. Like, these were all gifted to the Israelites from God. Mm-hmm. And so they took them and they started drinking wine out of them. They started partying and getting wasted. And then a hand wrote on the wall, and then they died.
But you, Belteshazzar, his son,
yeah,
have not humbled yourself.
Yeah.
Though you knew all this stuff about his dad, like, I think God,
locking it all up.
God protected him a little bit.
Yeah.
Nebuchadnezzar for...
Yeah, because Nebuchadnezzar became a believer.
He did?
Yeah, through Daniel, because Daniel interpreted his dreams. And then they threw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the furnace. But they came out, and Nebuchadnezzar witnessed them coming out. And so he didn't become a believer right then, but he said, no one should blaspheme the God's,
Dude.
like, the people that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego pray to is okay. Like, nobody should put them in jail for that. Like, I just witnessed them
Yeah.
come out of the fire. And Daniel. So Daniel interpreted his dreams. Them three came out of the fire. And Nebuchadnezzar was like, okay. And then as Nebuchadnezzar got older and the dreams were interpreted, then he became a follower of God.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, okay. Well, then he dies. His son takes over. So
See-
Nebuchadnezzar already made these things like, okay, these guys cannot be martyred for their faith anymore because they walked out of the fire. Like, they're good. So whatever God they pray to is good. That's okay. Whatever, even if it wasn't Nebuchadnezzar's God. Daniel the same way. He interprets the dreams, the nations coming and attacking, like he tells them beforehand. So now his son knows everything that his dad said, but his son is now in power, and he's like, I'm gonna party it up. Like, I'm the king now. I can do what I want. Nobody can tell me. Then God's hand shows up and was like, hey, I did this for your dad, and he knew not to do this. Like, that was a no-no. And I showed him by these guys come out, but you're going to do it anyway. So Belteshazzar takes all the gold and stuff that he took from Israel, and he's pouring wine in the chalices, and they're drinking it, and they're partying at a banquet. All the nobles and everybody's there. They're having a big party. And then a hand writes on the wall whatever, I'm sure it says in there. And
it says it right here. God has numbered the days of your reign
yeah.
and brought it to an end.
Yes. So
you
then,
have been weighed on the scales and found wanting.
yeah.
Your kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians.
Yeah. So
That's when
these are the
Darius
people.
came after.
Yeah, Darius.
He was
That's
the
right,
Persian
Darius.
king.
So then this king is like, so then Daniel is like, he's asking Daniel, like, what does this mean? And he's like, means you're done, like, basically. And then that same day, that same night, they all die.
Belteshazzar commanded Daniel was clothed in purple, and gold chain was placed around his neck, and he was proclaimed the third highest ruler in the kingdom.
Yep.
That very night, Belteshazzar, king of the Babylonians, was slain.
Yeah, he just died. He
So
died.
someone killed him. From what that says, someone killed him. He was
what the
slain.
theologian says, he was slain by God.
He doesn't explain like
no,
how.
but they're saying that him and all of his nobles were dead. So then Daniel was supposed to be. So then the next guy comes in.
And Darius liked him too, because
So
that's when
Darius
he goes
is the
to
one who
lion's
puts him
den,
in the lion's den.
but didn't want him to go there.
So that's how Daniel got thrown in the lion's den. So he's the third in command, right? And then you got Darius, and Daniel is way up here in rank. Like he's the man,
third most powerful.
But then everybody's looking at Darius, going, "Well, here's the most powerful," but he's praying to this God. He's doing this. This is against everything that we fought. You can't do this. And somewhere in here, Daniel does something and they're like,
yeah, he's praying out on the second floor,
and they're
through the
like,
window
no, this guy
everyone.
is blaspheming everything. And so you have to make an example out of Daniel. Like if you and he's like, oh no, this guy's been helping me out. He's got these prophecies from God. These nations that are I can't do that. And they're like, well, if you don't do it, then they're gonna uprise and they're gonna take you out. Like, and then Daniel's gonna be the king. You're gonna be done. He's like, oh. So they put him in the lion's den, and then he's going, oh man, I really love this guy.
I wonder if he prayed to Daniel's God.
I don't
Our
know.
God, right?
I don't know. But Daniel comes out of that lion's den, and he's like, oh, thank God. So I don't know if so he's got Nebuchadnezzar, Belteshazzar, and then Darius. And then and he converts Darius at the end. Like Darius is converted after all the kings except for Belteshazzar. And what sounds like Belteshazzar was converted up until his death. Like he's like, okay, here you go.
He's very important.
And then he dies. And Nebuchadnezzar was converted. He converts these guys. But so what we don't know is Daniel lived a very long life. He was thrown in the lion's den when he's like in his 70s and 80s.
Really?
Like, yeah, he's an old man at this point. And then King Darius is converted. And then he has another dream. The first dream was like of colors. The second dream was, he interpreted, was animals from the east.
Yeah.
Eagle,
four animals.
the
Four
lion,
beasts.
and all the, and then he's like, these guys are, and this is one of the prophecies, I believe, that when they talk about the United States, the West was never mentioned.
Yeah.
But those have not come to fruition yet. A lot of the things that Daniel prophesied. When the east grows and the west, or the east and the north and the south, they all grow, which we know the east is China and, Pakistan and Israel and all this. They all grow. There's another big war. And in Revelation, I believe it talks about that when those. But yeah, but Daniel stood true to everything through Nebuchadnezzar, through Belteshazzar, through Darius, through all these. Nothing shook him from his faith.
Yeah.
Yeah, Belteshazzar was like, yeah, I'm talking trash. And he's like, well, you're going to die. No. And he gives him all this power, but it still didn't. Yeah, and then Daniel still did what he had to do. He's like, still.
Think about that, too. Like, he was
The
in the place
only
of power.
sidekick is what I got to say. All these sidekicks are like, let me tell your future. Daniel's the only one that could ever do that. He's the only one gifted by God that can determine and interpret your dreams.
Well, he has a lot on the end of days.
So I think a lot of people like to think, well, I could be like Daniel. I can interpret dreams. No, you didn't get that gift from God.
Yeah.
Daniel did. He was like 12 when they took him from his home in Israel. He was a little kid. And then he just as a teenager or whatever, and the king's like, yeah, you're my slave. Bring me the most knowledgeable of Jews and give me the best looking Jews and
the cream
the
of the
best.
crop.
And so here we go, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, Daniel. They're like, that's not your name no more.
It's Belteshazzar.
Daniel's Belteshazzar, and then the other Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That's your names. Haha. Here, you guys are slaves. Do the dishes, do this and that. Now you guys are the best of the Jews, so you're going to sit in the king's court, and whatever the king eats, you're going to eat. And Daniel says, hey, I don't want to eat that. Well, you have to, or I'm going to get my head chopped off. That sucks for you, but I'm not going to eat that. Can we just...
They won't even notice.
And so the chef's like, so there had to be a little bit of God there. He's like, okay, well, he's gonna notice if you guys are getting scrawny and not eating this pork chops.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. And so then they come out at the end of eating all that stuff. That's why there's a Daniel fast now. Like, no, you don't have to do that. That's what Daniel did. He eats all these vegetables and this and that, and then all four of them come out looking studlier and more weight than anything. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, I must be eating good. No, they just stuck to what they knew. And then people can argue the fact that, we talked about this in Bible study about render to Caesar what is Caesar's. Submit to the governing authorities. Mm-hmm. You have to do this. This is what was in the New Testament. Submit to your governing authorities. I put them in the place where they're at. But as long as they don't.
Yeah, isn't that crazy to think about?
But then Daniel did opposite. He did not submit to the governing authorities. He flipped the middle finger to him and said,
He did that without actually doing that.
But then when we get down to the brass tacks, in the Old Testament, there was the law. Mm-hmm. And the law said this. Daniel was obeying God's law, not the king's law. Mm-hmm. Now we have the New Testament. Things are a little different. Pay your taxes, obey the law. These guys, God put them in place and power for a reason. Everything is for the greater good of God.
All the laws we have today are pretty close to biblical law.
Oh, well, follow them, even whatever. Until they tell you that you cannot worship your God and you cannot study this book and you cannot read that no more, follow the law. Mm-hmm. But if when they tell you you can't do this anymore, that's when you can say, nope, not doing it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of crazy laws in this country, but none of them, as far as I know, say you can't
Freedom of religion.
practice your religion. You can't practice your book. You can't proclaim Christ. Once they tell you that, then you can tell them to do whatever, pound sand. But up until then, we got to follow the laws. They say you got to pay this, you got to pay it. They say you got to do your property tax, you got to pay your property tax. You get pulled over for a speeding ticket, you better obey the law. Don't speed and pay that ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Period. End of subject.
Yeah.
You can still be a child of God, and yeah, we're human, and we're going to get really mad
Mm-hmm.
at those things, but you got to render to what it is. But you can still have the faith and the boldness of Daniel when it comes to God and this book, the Bible.
Yeah.
None of us have this much of what Daniel had.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what they say.
But then you got Christ saying all you need is a mustard seed.
You sit there with the President of the United States and they put a gun barrel in your mouth and say, eat that pork chop. You're going to eat the pork chop.
I mean, yeah, chuletas are great.
Yeah, I know.
Chuletas are amazing.
I know. That's why. Do you think that when they were like, Jews can't eat pork, and then somebody came out, and he's like, you guys want some chicharron? They were like,
Oh, dude.
hey!
Yeah, dude, that sounds amazing. I'm hungry now.
I still have that.
Some chicharrones.
I
The
still-
microwave chicharrones?
Yeah, I
You
still
never
have.
used it?
They're on top of my microwave.
Use them.
My daughter is always like, no, no.
She would love them, dude.
I think you gave me the spicy ones, though.
They're not that bad. Jax eats them.
Okay,
Every
so
time we
she's
watch football, he eats
not
them.
two yet.
He tries to eat them every day. I'm like, dude, no. Limit yourself. We sit there and we watch football and eat chicharrones.
I forgot when you gave them to me. I remember I went home, I put them on my microwave, but like we have a cabinet, so it's like the microwave and the
It's
cabinet.
hidden.
So yeah, then it was out of sight, out of mind, and then I was holding Ella one day, and she's like, Shh, and I was like, oh man,
You got to try them.
I know I will, but it's got to be a special moment,
Yeah,
like
it is.
Christmas. Like we're gonna be
So
gathered
good.
around. and I'm
Once you
just like,
start, you won't be able to stop.
do they pop like popcorn? Is that how it
No,
works?
you, just,
No,
you
right?
flatten the bag out, you shake them around so they're spread out, and then you put it in for 2 minutes.
Do they puff up or
They puff up, dude. It's
Alright.
crazy, man.
so like popcorn?
It doesn't pop, though.
That sucks.
But when you open it right after it's hot, it's like
that's
Rice
because
Krispies.
it's fat
it's like Rice Krispies.
burning.
It's like Rice Krispies, bro. It talks to you.
Yeah, like
Says,
flesh.
Eat me. Why are you ruining it?
I'm not trying to, but so let's be bold like Daniel.
Yeah, man.
That's our test.
It's a great book to read. I mean,
We'll
it's-
talk about what we're gonna do for next week. It's Thanksgiving. Next week. See what's going on. I don't know what I'm doing yet.
Thanksgiving at your house.
I don't know. I don't know yet. My mom.
Send me the
I don't
Addy,
know.
bro.
Huh?
Send me the Addy.
Lamar.
Who's Lamar?
Colorado.
Oh, you're going to your.
I don't know yet.
mom's.
I don't know. It depends how everything goes around my place. I don't know. I'm just gonna go with the flow.
What are you thankful for?
Nothing. I'm thankful for the ability that we get to do this every week
Yeah.
throughout all the crap that we go through
Mm-hmm.
in life. We don't get paid for this. We don't get anything. We don't have any sponsors. We don't get any money for our ministry.
I think we get closer to Christ.
But we do this every week because that's what we want to do. We don't get a lot of, it's whatever. It's all, you can't create, quantify, or control the ministry. And we haven't tried to do any of that. And little God winks here and there where we go, okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm just going to go with the flow. And I'm thankful that we get to do this. And thankful what the good Lord has put on us. And none of us are sleeping in the cold.
Yeah.
You're taking care of your aunt and uncle and your son,
Yeah.
and you got the ability to keep doing that.
Mhm.
And I'm got a daughter and two daughters, and they're both clothed and roofed and eaten, and everything is good. And no matter how hard life gets, Christ didn't promise it was going to be easy. He
No.
just told us to take up our cross and follow him daily, and they hated him first, so they will hate us. So
Mhm.
he never once said that, hey, follow me and it's going to be great, and you guys are going to have a party and potlucks, and
Rainbows and butterflies.
everybody's going to hug you and do all this. No, he said just take up your cross and follow me.
Mhm.
Period. I will make you fishers of men. And because they hated me first, they will hate you.
Yep.
Later. So happy Thanksgiving. We'll
Yeah.
see you guys before the holidays. We'll do a holiday special. Maybe for a holiday special, we'll bring on some guests.
There you go. If you're gonna talk about it, be about it, Adam.
Okay. He's excited about the guests.
Can't you tell?
Next time we're on here, we're going to get a red beanie
Yeah.
with our guests. Be about it.